Morning, everybody. I'm Dave. My dad, I used to go with him around various rural places when he used to go and be asked to be a preacher. And almost every time he'd have an object lesson to make it memorable. So this is one of the object lessons. This is what I wear in the garden most times, as Ros and Vi will attest to. But I won't wear it because we're in church. Some other things that are common that I use. One is this. This is for pruning, and this one is a dibber. I'm sure you all know what dibbers are for. It's for very small work when you're planting seeds. These are very important, and these are important. Gloves. And our other tools. You'll recognise all of those. But being a church garden, and the emphasis I want to make is that I'm not really a gardener. I had a contract with the county council, and they called me the expert gardener. I'm not an expert gardener. Okay, my whole reason for being is about engaging with communities, and that comes from a time which I'll explain just a little bit later. But just to say, the other tool that we use is this, and this is really behind what we do, rather than just being for gardening and for a harvest. Okay, that is a byproduct, but actually, this is what it's the fundamental behind it. So, having got that out of the way, my glasses on. So this is us. St. Peter's Church. St. Peter's Church is in Aylesbury. It's North Aylesbury in the area of Quarrendon. Hands up those who know where Quarrendon is. Do you know roughly where that is? Bordered on the top by the River Tame. So, and we're an estate church, so very different to St. Mary's. I got to go down, that's why. The church is on the estate. It was built with the estate, 70 years old, and we'll show you some pictures in a short while. And it's very much it's classed as one of the 10 most disadvantaged wards in the county. Okay, and that's where we're based. The church is, and Vi will say a little bit about that probably, but the church is very much of the community itself. And therefore what we do, our practices and what we do in the church and the other events are very much dictated by the people that we have, the culture that they have, their ability to be involved. And one of the things about our church is that probably for about 70% of them, this is their only experience of church. And they have no heritage of church going. Or if it is, it's very, very small. So that's the nature of our church. Ros, you're just going to... This is... If we start with this rather than the practical side of things, is it probably easier to read it from here? Okay.
So why do churches believe the environment is a gospel issue? Well, it underpins theology. So Genesis 1:26 says, "Then God said, let us make man in our own image, in our own likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, and the livestock, and over all the creatures that move along the ground." Colossians says, Jesus is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. Psalm 24 says, "The earth is the Lord's and everything in it, the world and all who live in it." So the fifth mark of mission is to strive to safeguard the integrity of creation and sustain and renew the life of the earth. And there's an ever-pressing need to make a difference.
Thank you, Ros. Ros is much better at reading than I am. The fifth mark there, I don't know if you were aware of this fact, but it's very much there as it's putting really at a very high priority this whole thing of the engagement with creation and sustaining and renewing the life of the earth. It's, in fact, the Genesis 1 is a very fundamental one, where we're called by God to be stewards of the environment. So this is very fundamental, and it's something that we need to take seriously. Now, right, having spoken with David, I know that you've come a long way. You've got a bronze award for A. Rocha. We've got bronze as well, and we're walking towards silver, as you are. And I know that you've done some work at looking at what's needed in the silver award, which is the 2 points there about strengthening lifestyle choices and engaging and encouraging the congregation to be better stewards. So that's you guys. And I'm sure David's going to bring up various things to help you to understand what that means. But there's also the whole thing of ministry and mission and linking with the community around the local schools and other organisations. And I mean, you've got a fantastic resource both in the auditorium here, but also your surroundings. I had a wander around a couple of weeks ago. You've got a massive churchyard. And from my point of view, where I look at green spaces and think, how can we use this to engage with the community and be involved? That's a huge resource to call on. And maybe we can work together a bit in the future, which should be good. So St. Peter's Church, the whole purpose is about bringing wholeness and hope to the people around us through encountering Jesus. A very simple message. Both wholeness and hope are key issues for the community. The community garden acts as a crossing place. And when I was talking with David, I was explaining about, from my background in community development, is that when working with people and with communities, you need to have a way of engaging with them. And if you stay within, like from a church point of view, if you stay within the walls of your church, then it's very difficult for people to walk across the threshold. And church growth people talk about it as a stained glass window barrier. It's a barrier. So the garden, or a garden related to a church, our garden, acts as a natural crossing place where people can come and be involved and meet people from the church and do things. They can experience the peace of the garden as well. And they can find God there and do their own thing. And often we find people who just are just sitting there. And I've spoken to some people and they say, oh yeah, I regularly come here and sit here and just think and enjoy and look around and see the beauty of the place and listen to the birds. And that's a great thing that we can offer that for our community. So it's totally open access, and it's a place where people can find peace, shalom, God's peace, which is greater than just not conflict. So Vi, you come and talk to us about your encounter, because you were around at St. Peter's way before I was.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Vi Heritage, and I'm a member of the gardening team, the core gardening team at St. Peter's. And as Dave has already explained to you, that St. Peter's is located in Quarrendon. It was built in the early 60s, and it is on a huge plot of ground. And there is a car park which would accommodate probably about 10 cars. And over the years that became quite a contentious issue, because local people were using the car park, and some of them were parking on the grassed areas, which wasn't really good. Back in 2017, when Peter Wheeler joined us as curate, at our very first DCC meeting with him as chair, the issue of the car park was raised and how we might overcome it. And there were various suggestions put forward with regards to maybe planting shrubs around the edge of the car park, etc. But I suggested that we develop a community garden. And I was absolutely delighted when Peter Wheeler said, yes, that's in the future plan for St. Peter's, because it had been a long-held wish of mine to become involved with a community garden or to start one up as I approached my retirement, and I was by then already retired. I'd had a lifelong interest in gardening, working alongside my father. I was raised on a farm and he had a big vegetable garden, and I worked alongside him and learned a lot from him. And throughout my married life, I worked with my husband. We had a vegetable garden and allotment, and I grew lots of flowers. So to become involved with the community garden was really great for me. The community garden welcomes in people, who use the community cafe on a Thursday, and people are encouraged to plant, to grow stuff, and also they are invited to harvest it when the time comes and take away what they need. The community garden has also helped a lot of people, myself included. When I lost my husband at the end of 2019, it became a place of peace and solitude where I could feel at ease and work, and it brought me a great deal of comfort as I worked there and as I grieved for him alone during the horrible lockdown period. Some people come. We had one gentleman, for instance, who came to us to use the food bank outlet on a Thursday, and he inquired about the garden. I explained to him all about it, and he came back the following week, and he joined us for many, many months as a great helper. And he said that it gave him that focus that helped him to manage his mental health issues. The garden has now become a very integral part of St. Peter's, and many people come and talk with us. As Dave has just said, we will find people sitting there. They come and share their troubles, their anxieties, and whereas they might not have felt that they could come into the church itself and do that. And then with gentle persuasion, they do come into the church, and they are so pleasantly surprised at the welcome and how good it makes them feel. So yes, I would advocate the community garden for everybody. It is a great thing to do. Thank you.
So what about me? Okay, we've got a very short time, so I'll just say that I've been doing community development work for about 35 years, 10 years in local authority, 15 years as an independent consultant. But I started as a detached youth worker about 10 years before that. So my whole focus is on engaging with people in communities, particularly disadvantaged communities. And I discovered, just by the fact of doing things, that actually community gardening in a community and giving people opportunity to be involved, actually is a great way for people to engage. And it's a long-term thing, so you can build a relationship with them, and through that you can understand and help them. And with my background, I can direct them to various services that might suit their needs, and to really empathize with where they're at and be a resource in that whole concept. So that's my background. Now, come January 2017, I moved into Aylesbury from Chalfont St. Peter, and I was looking for a church for a couple of years, and someone pointed me towards St. Peter's. This is actually my nearest church, but when I did my morning run one day, I looked in, it was before Pete arrived, and there were sort of crucifixes on the wall and pews, and it looked pretty empty and dead, to be honest. But anyway, when I turned up at where this guy told me to, where Pete was just setting up a new church, and this was in 2018, it was quite different. And at the end of the service, Pete's wife, Ali, was talking to me. She said, "Oh, Pete's got this mad idea about a community garden." And I said, "Oh, that's funny, that's what I do." So what I discovered back in 2015 was this whole thing of engaging through a community garden. And I've got a community allotment down in High Wycombe. So I was well versed in how to do this. So we managed to get some funding from the Aylesbury Garden Town, which was a Bucks County Council project. And in October of 2019, they created something called the Community and Partnerships team. And they invited me to be part of that team under the guise of the charity that I have now formed, which covers my work, which is called Community Transform. And the project Community Grow is like a network of community gardens across Bucks. So that was my introduction. We had funding from them for 3 years to develop the garden, which is absolutely wonderful. So you can see there the empty space. The first picture you saw. Oh, I've gone the wrong way again. There's an empty space. You see the tire marks of where the cars have been playing around there. I started by just throwing down these raised beds, pallet toppers they're called, put some carpet tiles that were excess to what we needed in the church. And we laid out a sort of a semicircle of land. You see the tiles there, but actually no, it's all wood chip, which was the communal area, which is, for me, is vital in what we're doing. This is one of the raised beds. And very quickly we had some beans and some potatoes and a little bit of growth. And it's all very basic, as you can see. We also do flowers, and Vi's particularly good on this. So we created this bed on another part of the land around the church. And you can see there the view down the back of the church, which is totally empty. And then around the other side, there's another huge stretch of grass. Now, I'd say, let's not focus on the food that we grow and the growing techniques. All of that is really important. But it's the people that are really important. And these are some of the guys who attended the community cafe. Here, there, I got them involved in potting out some tomatoes so that they could move them on. So teaching them some skills, and it's all good for your health to be doing these things. Now that's what it looks like today. We've got a cabin where we run to when it rains. I call it the Ark, but Pete Wheeler doesn't like that particularly. And we've got some trees, but we've got a whole range of beds that we've developed over the time. That doesn't show all of it. There's more of it than what you can see there. So we're 6 seasons on. Okay, so this is some of the things that we've been doing. Obviously, we've got a team, core team, and resident helpers who come along at various times. We have a WhatsApp group. There is produce. We are successful. And that is fed into the food bank, and the volunteers take a lot of it, and the church, any excess is left in baskets for the church to take away. And we're expanding, so we're hopefully going to be able to put more into the food bank, and that's the main purpose for that. The church sets aside 3 services a year, sometimes 4. Where we close the church, so it just happens in the garden, and that's it. Which is a challenge. It's an interesting thing for the clergy to know how to manage that, but we do that. It's an event, but very much centred as a church service. The cafe is a key thing, as Vi has mentioned. Grow Outdoors, an after-school club. Ros will be talking about that in a minute. Just a short introduction to what that is. That's a great way of us getting into the community and reaching to very needy people. And then we have work days on a Saturday, often on a Saturday. So we're expanding. There's another view. And there's Vibe by our new polytunnel that we've just put in this year. We've yet to put beds in there, but we will have beds. And you can see the stretch of land that goes back there. So we don't do this for the acclaim, but we have entered into Aylesbury and Bloom the last 5 years, and we've got a Guild Award each time for the St. Peter's Garden. While I was with Garden Town, I set up 7 community gardens. They had a range of entrance into or success with the competition, but St. Peter's has always been right at the top there. We had a focus on composting this year, and somebody who's given the responsibility. We've really come a long way with that, and beginning perhaps to take green waste from some neighbours as well. David's already mentioned about we're over the moon about this, by the way. Our little garden, and we're top 3 in the church times at Wars. And on Thursday, we're going to go to the ceremony to find out where we come. But to be honest, to be 3rd is great. And then we've got a whole range of partners, and these partners are, I'll just let you read through them, but they're all sorts of different partners and charity sector, the council, etc. But these are really, really important people. They refer people to the garden. We're building a close relationship with the primary care network for us, for our 2 surgeries, so that doctors can prescribe coming to the garden and being involved as part of people's way back to good health, which is a great recognition for all the benefits that come from that. But there's a whole range of different partners shown there. Here we are. This was a barbecue that we had in the garden. Everybody was invited. And it's a great thing. Food is really important for engaging. So just remember that if you can. That's a clearly one. This is our community cafe. It's a little bit dark, but you can see it's quite a busy time. A lot of people come. I would say the majority of them probably are not church members, that not attending on a Sunday, but they come here and find a place to socialise and to meet and be with friends. This is a great picture, I think, because it shows various things. So we've got David in the red cap who lives opposite. He's our almost like our warden, and tells us when there's things going on that we don't know about. And there's Pete Wheeler talking to, what's that lady's name? I forgot her name. Katie, okay. David's friend. So there's Pete Wheeler there. And then in between those two, there's in the purple is Phyllis. And Phyllis is a great character, and we love her dearly. And she comes and she does get involved, but she struggles sometimes. But we've been able to really reach into her life and give her support. And then there's agency people there from various agencies. And then in the wheelchairs, there's people from the PACE Centre. So children with neurological issues, often they can't speak or certainly move, but they come on a regular basis when the weather's good. We've given them their own raised bed, so they can plant things. And they come and they tour around the garden and look at the changes and talk to the children. It's a school, just very close to us. So it's a great way in which we are engaging with the community and being relevant to them. There's a whole load of people who come who have mental health issues. People have physical issues. There's a guy who comes regularly, he's got Alzheimer's, but he's really strong, and he's got a history in gardening. He knows what he's doing, but we need to guide him and look after him, and it's great to be with him and to help him and his wife through that time. But like I say, it's about people. So, St. Peter's, we're gradually developing the concept of church, but church in a different context. So it's a worshipping community. And Ros will talk a bit about what she's doing with the young children, which is a foretaste of what we want to do in a bigger sense. As I say, it's about a crossing place between people and community. And it is about relational mission. It's a proven and a very effective way of engaging, as I said. There's huge benefits, and I've got some notes down on the exhibition about the benefits. And recently they found that people who garden, they have less propensity to having Alzheimer's, they live longer, and they have greater cognitive maturity in their later years. And it's quite an in-depth study that's done from Edinburgh. Very clear evidence of the benefits that come from this. We link with a lot of different agencies and partners. They weren't all listed there. And they bring a whole range of different aspects to what we can offer people who get involved. And that final, in a sense, that fifth mark of mission, we are enabling people to care for community. Now, Ros is just going to quickly come and talk about her work with Grow Outdoors.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Ros, and I've been a member of St Peter's Church for about 7 years, and I'm a volunteer, but I lead a children's group called Grow Outdoors. So Grow Outdoors happens every Tuesday in our community garden. It runs from 3:15 to 4:15, and it's for children aged between 5 and 13 and their parents. Initially, Grow Outdoors was first called After School Drop-In, and it came about and evolved alongside our community garden. And it was our previous garden facilitator, Lizzie, who saw at St Peter's that they had a youth group for teenagers and they had a baby and toddler group, but nothing for children of school age in between. So in order to engage with children of that particular age group, and noticing that St Peter's sits right in between two primary schools, one on either side, we decided to set up an after-school group. Initially, it was just an after-school group for children to come along, do some gardening, do some planting, and enjoy the garden. But then Lizzie moved on, and Lydia Lee, our trainee curate, came on board, and through engagement with the Greenhouse Project, the after-school drop-in went through some changes, and it became Grow Outdoors. So Grow Outdoors is what we like to call Church in the Garden. Initially, we were a little bit apprehensive about bringing worship into Grow Outdoors. We weren't sure how it would be received by the families who attend, because none of the families that attend Grow Outdoors attended church on a regular basis. But, you know, they do now, and Tuesday is their time of worship. So at Grow Outdoors, we adopt an ethos which is based around Bible-based worship through devoting some of our time to spiritual reflection and some of our time to a Bible story. And we do this through building relationships with the families who attend. We bring worship to them through doing creative and fun activities, through encountering Jesus, and that's what we like to call creative worship. So we encourage all of the families that come to Grow Outdoors to work together to plant and harvest the fruit and vegetables in the community garden. We provide food bags, and we encourage the families to take home whatever they've planted and harvested. And that encourages them to not only eat healthily, but also to be thankful to God for the produce that he has provided. And Grow Outdoors over the last sort of 3 years has developed quite widely in our community. And we've taken the opportunity to link with other things happening at St Peter's, such as carols around the Christmas tree, Light in the Darkness, and our community cafe. And as a group leader, leading young people through their faith journey, I've been really inspired and really encouraged by seeing the way the children and the parents have engaged with the worship element at Grow Outdoors, and just in the way in which they have grown in their own faith through not being churchgoers to now being families that will come along to the events that we have at St Peter's and that will happily worship and just grow in their own faith. And that's been really encouraging and really inspiring.
This is a great picture that shows some of the characters that Ros works with. And again, it emphasizes the fact that this is all about people. And the garden is a tool that we use to reach people. But it's a very helpful tool because we all benefit from it. And I similarly to Vi, at various stages throughout the course of this, the past 5-6 years, it's helped me in my own mental health as well. So it's really beneficial, and I really want to emphasize that dual nature of the project itself, and hope, like I say, we can work together to do something here that might be similar or that would be suited to your particular needs. So do look at the exhibition board at the end, on the table at the back, and we can talk with you and explore if you've got any ideas about how to take this forward for yourselves.
Thanks again to Dave and Ros and Vi from St Peter's. Do look at their display at the back before you leave church. This week, all the usual things of Sparklers tomorrow. It's our 10 o'clock service on Thursday. It's also PCC on Wednesday night. And then on Saturday at 12 o'clock noon, it's Margaret Seabrook's funeral. So do please come, gather with the family to celebrate all who Margaret was. Next week at our 9 and 10:40, no, it's not. Sorry, you've got to get back in. 10 o'clock. It's a joint service next Sunday because it's the 5th Sunday of the month, and we're celebrating harvest. There are some envelopes at the back with gift aid labels on. This year, we're going to be giving money to the Chiltern Food Bank and to Christian Aid and to their Harvest of Hope campaigns. There's stuff about it on the update. If you want to know more, then please do ask. But there are envelopes at the back for you to take. There are also new pathways. This is the quarterly diocesan publication, and it's all about children and young people in church. So please do take it. And I know that whilst I've been away, the funds for the role that we're going to create have grown yet again. So a huge, huge thank you for that. There will be afternoon teas next Sunday, so help for that would be grateful. And then on the 5th of October, we've got the wedding fair. And it's sounding like we're going to be having lots of people in church. And the idea is to bring couples who want to get married into church, so they might make a decision to actually get married in a church. But we want to do teas and cakes, so if anybody can help with that, please have a word with us afterwards.